There's a reason some Ram trucks cross 300,000 miles without a hiccup, while others are staring down a $6,000 transmission or a $12,000 rebuild before 100,000 miles. The four-wheel drive system cooks itself on dry pavement. The transmission takes a beating every time it climbs a grade towing. The engine never gets hot enough to burn the moisture out of the oil. All three happening quietly at once is how a truck ends up needing more than $15,000 in repairs before 150,000 miles. The dealer hands you the keys and never mentions any of this. The manual might tell you when to check some of it. It never tells you why skipping it costs this much. These are the 13 habits slowly taking years off your Ram, starting with the one costing owners the most money and the one they're least likely to know about. One more thing worth knowing. The last one on this list is electrical, not mechanical. We'll get there. Number 1, the four-wheel drive setting costing you the most. Auto four-wheel drive looks like the safe choice. Leaving it on all the time seems like it can only help. It is not free. The clutch pack inside the transfer case stays partially engaged the whole time, on dry pavement, especially in turns, that turns into heat and friction bound every time you turn the wheel. The first sign is usually a shudder in slow, tight turns. By the time you feel it, the wear has already started. You are looking at approximately $2,000 to $9,000 for a transfer case repair on a Ram, depending on whether it is a repair or a full replacement. Run two-wheel drive on dry roads. Save auto four-wheel drive for genuinely slick conditions. That one is free to fix. The next one starts as a noise you would swear is something else. Number 2, the real reason for that Hemi ticking noise. A ticking noise on cold start gets written off as just a Hemi thing. Sometimes it isn't lifters at all. It's exhaust manifold bolts breaking. It's documented for 2009 Ram 1500 on cylinders 7 and 8, the two hottest running cylinders. The tell is a ticking noise that's strongest cold and fades as the engine warms, unlike lifter noise, which stays more constant. Real shop quotes range from $800 for just the bolts up to $3,200 if they've broken off inside the head and the manifolds need replacing. If the ticking follows that cold start, then fades pattern, get it checked. Don't assume it's normal Hemi tick. That's a noise you can hear. The next habit makes no noise at all. Number 3, why short trips quietly wear out the engine. Gentle short errands feel like the easy, low-stress way to drive. Surely easier on the engine than a long highway haul. The opposite is true. On a 5-minute drive, the oil never gets hot enough to burn off crankcase moisture, which weakens its protective film, and short trips trap more condensation in the exhaust too, part of why a lightly driven truck can show more internal wear than one that regularly sees the highway. There's no dashboard warning for this. It stacks silently, showing up later as accelerated wear and shortened oil life. Give the truck a real 20 to 30 minute highway drive at least once a week, enough to get the oil and exhaust fully hot. That's about driving it enough. The next habit happens in the first 30 seconds of every single drive, long or short. Number 4, the cold start habit that damages Hemi lifters fast. The truck starts, so it must be ready to go, right? Most owners back out and get on the gas immediately. That's exactly when the damage starts. On a 5.7 Hemi, the oil pump sits low and takes a moment to fully reach the lifters and cam up top. Cold, thick oil moves slower, and gunning it in that window starves the lifters right when they need protection most. The first sign is a lifter tick that develops over time, often first noticeable cold. Catch it early and you're looking at approximately $1,500 for lifters alone. Let it spread to the cam, and now it's a full engine replacement. An estimated $5,800 to $13,000. The fix is simple. Give it 30 to 60 seconds before you get moving, and go easy until the temperature gauge starts climbing. That takes care of what happens the second you turn the key. The next habit shows no symptoms at all. It just costs you every time you drive. Number 5, why ignoring spark plugs costs more than you'd think. The truck starts and drives fine, so the plugs must still be good, right? Think again. A Hemi has 16 spark plugs, 2 per cylinder. It can run on worn plugs longer before you'd notice, while combustion quietly gets dirtier underneath. Watch for gradually dropping fuel economy and a lazier throttle response. Easy to miss since it happens slowly. The delay costs more in fuel and carbon buildup than a timely replacement would have. On 2014 and newer 5.7 Hemi trucks with factory iridium plugs, the interval is 100,000 miles. Older trucks built before 2014 with the original copper plugs are on a much shorter 30,000-mile interval, worth checking which one applies before assuming the longer number. Next up isn't about waiting, it's about what you buy. Number 6. Why cheap tunes do more harm than good. Getting bored with stock power or shift behavior leads a lot of owners toward a quick, inexpensive upgrade. That upgrade has a cost nobody mentions. A cheap tune that adds power without accounting for how the transmission shifts just stresses a part that's already a known weak point. Borrowed time, not an upgrade. Watch for inconsistent or harder shifting after a budget tune. The real cost is the tune plus the repair it eventually causes. If modifying, use a reputable tuner or part built with the transmission in mind. Treat huge gains for almost nothing as a red flag, not a deal. That one costs money because of what gets sold, not what the owner actually wants. The next one is different. It's something the manual itself gets people to misread. Number 7. The lifetime fluid that isn't. The truck keeps driving just fine, so anyone would think the differential fluid is still doing its job. Not exactly. Differential gears run under constant load. Every toe and highway pull generates heat, and over time, the fluid shears down and fills with metal particles from normal wear, faster with towing or bigger tires. The tell is a gradually noisier rear end, a whine that builds slowly enough to go unnoticed. Gear oil is cheap, typically $50 to $150 for parts and fluid. Let it go too long, and a ring and pinion repair runs an estimated $500 to $2,000 or more. Ram's own manual, it turns out, doesn't set a fixed change interval for normal driving. It calls for an inspection every 20,000 miles, and only mandates a fluid change under heavy towing or commercial use. Inspect isn't change. A lot of owners read that schedule as nothing to do, when it really means check it yourself, then decide. That one's quiet, a slow whine, easy to miss. The next one you would actually hear if you knew what it meant. Number 8. The towing habit that cooks your transmission. Setting cruise control at a steady speed while towing feels like the easier, smoother option for the truck. Cruise control only cares about holding one number. Hit an uphill grade towing, and cruise forces a downshift and extra throttle to hold speed. Then upshifts on the way down, over and over on every hill. That constant shift underload cycle spikes transmission temperature and hammers the clutch packs and torque converter the entire drive. Warning signs: delayed or harder shifts under load, or a hotter than usual temperature gauge reading. Real shop quotes put a transmission rebuild at $4,000 to $8,000, $3,000 for a used unit, up to $8,000 for something new. Use manual speed control on grades instead. Let the truck lose a few miles per hour, rather than forcing crews to fight for one number. Notice that one only bites if you tow. The next habit doesn't care whether you've ever hooked up a trailer. Number 9. The cheap part that costs you the most over time. Money usually goes toward wheels, tires, and appearance, stuff you can actually see. The oil filter? That feels like the one place it's fine to save a few dollars. Hardly. On a cold start, the filter manages flow, filtration, and anti-drain back all at once. A weak one can leave the valve train briefly unprotected in that same window that puts the lifters at risk. There's no obvious symptom here. It's cumulative wear over tens of thousands of miles, not one moment of failure. The price difference between a bargain filter and a quality one is small. The wear it prevents isn't. Use a reputable filter and the correct oil, changed on schedule. Skip the cheapest option on the shelf. That's the cheap part hiding inside a routine service. The next one isn't cheap to get wrong. Number 10. The transfer case fluid mix-up almost everyone makes. Transfer case fluid is transfer case fluid. Grab something labeled for four-wheel drive trucks and it'll work, right? Not necessarily. Most current Ram 1500s with automatic four-wheel drive run an active clutch pack transfer case, and that one needs a specific Mopar transfer case fluid, not standard automatic transmission fluid. The simpler chain-driven part-time case uses ordinary Mopar ATF plus 4 instead. Put the wrong fluid in either case, and you get chatter, clutch damage, and contamination right away, often showing up in turns shortly after a top-off. Do it yourself, and the fluid alone is roughly $30 to $90. Ignore it long enough, and you're back to that same approximately $2,000 to $9,000 case repair. Check the ID tag or owner's manual to confirm which case you have. A parts counter guess is how the wrong fluid ends up in there. Whichever fluid it needs, the service interval itself is consistently documented at 60,000 miles. Most owners never think twice about that fluid. The next one gets topped off just as often and mixed up just as easily. Number 11. Why you should never mix coolant types. Coolant is coolant. If it's low, topping off with whatever's on the shelf feels harmless. Not on this one. Ram engines are picky about coolant chemistry. Mixing formulas creates sludge that clogs the heater core, stresses water pump seals, and restricts radiator flow on an engine where the water pump's already a weak point. Watch for reduced heat from the vents or the engine running warmer than normal. Just the water pump on a Ram 1500 is $1,128 to $1,272, and that's before a heater core or radiator gets pulled into it too. Confirm the correct type before topping off. Never mix colors or chemistries, even in an emergency. Ram's factory coolant is rated for 10 years or 150,000 miles, but only if it's never mixed. Do it once, and that interval's gone. Coolant gets attention because it's easy to see when it's low. The last mechanical habit on this list is even easier to check, and almost as often ignored. Number 12. The tire pressure habit that beats up the whole truck. Tire pressure, that's just a fuel economy thing, right? Maybe tire wear, not even close. On a heavy truck, underinflated tires roll heavier, run hotter, and stress the suspension more than most owners realize, especially when towing or when loaded. The tell is faster or uneven tire wear and a slightly sluggish steering feel. It ties into suspension wear and earlier tire replacement, a real cumulative cost, just not one dramatic number. Check cold tire pressure regularly and keep it at spec, especially when towing or hauling. That one's mechanical, rubber, and air. The last one on this list isn't mechanical at all. It's electrical, and it's the one with an actual federal investigation attached to it. Number 13. The electrical problem almost nobody traces to its real cause. Random electrical glitches, a horn honking on its own, wipers turning on by themselves, a no start with a perfectly good battery, get written off as old truck electrical gremlins. It's not age, it's corrosion. The real cause is often the TIPM, the module that distributes power to almost everything electrical in the truck, corroding at its connectors near the battery, exposed to moisture, battery fumes, and road salt in winter climates. Ram trucks built to 2009 to 2012 were actually named in a real federal investigation into this part, but NHTSA closed the case and denied the petition, since the real pattern turned out to be concentrated in other models, not Ram, and no recall ever came out of it here. Parts and labor together, a replacement module is typically $500 to $1,000 against a check that takes 5 minutes. Pop the hood periodically and check the TIPM's connectors for white or green corrosion buildup. Clean it and apply dielectric grease if you find any. So, here's what to do right now. If you don't know which transfer case your Ram has, check the ID tag before your next service, not after it starts shuddering in a turn. If it's been a while since anyone looked at the coolant, confirm it's never been topped off with a different type before you trust that 10-year interval. And if your Ram's a few years old, check the TIPM connectors for corrosion before it leaves you stranded, not after. If this video reached you before any of these turned into a repair order, that's exactly what this channel is here for. Subscribe.